So yeah, welcome back everybody to my almost weekly update. You noticed that I missed the weekend to give you such an update, and it's because I have severe sleeping disorders. I will explain that a little bit more later, how I plan to tackle that. But most important for the beginning, Tesla seems to come out with a new phone. And many people say, well, how can this high stock price for Tesla be justified? They are just going to sell electric cars. And even if you take the complete market together of all cars that are sold, and there will be only Tesla cars that are sold, then the stock is hopelessly overevaluated. But if you look into the fact that Tesla does not just produce cars, but also has solar panels, that they produce something that is Starlink, right? An internet that works by satellites and that surrounds the world. And now they also seem to come out with phones. Then you may realize that you just don't buy a Tesla stock, you buy a complete ETF, an exchange traded fund that has so many companies included there. And I find the phone really interesting. I was always a fan of Google because it seems to me they do so much with their phone that maybe Apple and Samsung don't do. They have like innovations in the pipeline that can really disrupt the market. But what I read here about Tesla's phone is really interesting. For example, they include a solar panel for charging. Now, that may not be super effective, right? But it's a PR feature at least, right? It's like the calculators that you had in your school time that also had solar energy. And to be honest, I always had problems with the battery because I didn't have solar chargers for my phone. So it's an interesting feature at least. But what is more interesting, it connects to Starlink, right? So you probably don't need Wi-Fi or a mobile provider anymore. You just get that directly from Tesla. So they become their own telecommunication company, which is awesome. It's also awesome for maybe countries in the world that are more authoritarian, where you then just can get this free Wi-Fi from the universe. So, and then they also plan, I mean, this is a bit controversial, a neural link connection to your brain. I mean, come on, does Apple have that? Apple now plans to have these oculars, like somehow connect the phone with oculars. That will be a huge innovation for Apple. But Tesla goes a step further. They have directly a neural link, right? The Matrix coming. Then, more interesting, and maybe also interesting for people who plan to buy cryptocurrencies, it will be able to trade with Mars coin cryptocurrency. And it will also be able to mine that immediately. So you can make money. And that may be an interesting feature. So as soon as that coin comes out, I will buy that coin. I will buy that coin. I think that will explode. Dogecoin, goodbye. Dogecoin, or however you call that. It can sync with other Tesla phones. I mean, that's really a problem that has to be solved. All the time when you try to send somebody else videos, it's really complicated to do that via Bluetooth or to send that to a cloud, especially here where I'm living. And yeah, so these are interesting features. The internet will be super fast. For me, it's one of the news of the weeks where I'm really surprised. And I still bite my ass that I didn't buy Tesla here. I was thinking about, but it was overvaluated here. If it has a major stock break again in the future, I will definitely buy that company. Okay, so that's that. Then another interesting news is that that's already a bit older, that GPT-3, that's a program with which you can write human-like texts. And I have read some of these texts, and I must say they can be written quite well. I actually let my students read some of the texts and asked what they thought about these texts without telling them that they were written by an AI. And they didn't think that it was written by an AI. They thought it have been good texts. One was a story about Harry Potter, but kind of in a weird way. And I must say that this AI writes better than I would say 50% of my students. Also when I was teaching in America. Good grammar. So that's definitely something to come. And GPT-3, it has opened now access. It removed the waiting list. They still have some restrictions, so they still monitor it for misuse, right? That maybe does not reflect the company very well. Yannick Kilcher, who I actually subscribe to, he says, well, why do they make that access? He doesn't know. Maybe they want to be ahead of competitors. Microsoft is also working on these projects of an AI that can produce human-like texts. Bill Gates was once asked, what would he invest his money in nowadays if he just started anew? And he said he would invest in a company that can understand humanly written texts, and we are on the path towards it. So this is definitely one of the future technologies, and I have to also look how to invest into that technology. It will be super disruptive for the market because suddenly you can produce a lot of texts automatically written, generate whole websites, and so on and so forth. Nevertheless, and I said Microsoft is developing another of these programs, and it really depends on how many data you train that. And I think Microsoft develops a program that has 6 times more data than GPT-3, and GPT-3 is already pretty good. I also recommend this channel here, Yannick Kilcher. I will link that. He always gives news on AI, artificial intelligence. I don't know what ML stands for, to be honest, but I watch him regularly. He's quite entertaining and seems to have a PhD in that field, so he can give you a very good insights into how these things work. At the same time, it's not too nerdy. Nevertheless, I must say that the enthusiasm that people expect or that people have when they want to use GPT-3 may be a bit too much. I don't think it can be used for business models in the future very easily. So you won't generate websites that just have these texts, because the future depends on people who sell you products as surfaces of trust. And so in that regard, the show of Colin and Samir is very interesting. And they investigated different products from different influencers, because what the influencers now do is they all bring out their own products. And sometimes it's really cheesy products where you really say, like here, for example, the Emilius, that you probably don't know, but it seems they are like, within 1 year, they are like the biggest influencers in America now. They created their own brand, their clothing brand, and they connected to their name. And the reason for why people connect to them, to people that have obviously no extraordinary talent, is because they see themselves in these people. And I know another YouTuber, he pointed that out, that it is especially with regard to women, because women want to be just acknowledged without doing anything for it. Now, for all the feminists who now say, how can he say something like that? Well, it's not an anti-feminist thesis, right? It's maybe how women are made in our society that may be patriarchal. So I'm just observing here what happens when you look at female influencers and what are their qualifications. It seems to me male influencers on large are a bit different from female influencers. But it's interesting how they look at these different influencers. For example, one has a knife and he has a cook show, and now he sells his own knife. And that is the future. I don't think the future is GPT-3 in selling products. GPT-3 might help you to develop good texts that you then can translate into shows. So I think the future of the internet is not reading texts, though I read a lot of texts, but I also admit that I consume YouTube because it's a good passive resource for digesting news. And as soon as I want to do something more active, of course, I need a text. Yeah, so this Colin and Samir, I also recommend if you want to stay up to date what is going on in this influencer YouTube universe and what are the new trends. So what did I do? I didn't have much time because I was preparing a presentation on a topic related to logic, on logical inferentialism. And I was actually holding a presentation in the logics department of Shandong University, which is one of the biggest universities in China, the largest or the best in Shandong. Shandong, which has the most difficult entrance exam for universities and the largest population, and here it's the best university. So you meet really good students in that department, really, really smart students, that's what I can say. And yeah, I held a presentation about material inferentialism and anaphora. You may wonder what that is. Now, I don't want to make that too detailed because it's philosophy, right? And it's a logical topic. So a lot of people may say immediately goodbye. But it technically relates to an interesting problem, namely the problem of reference. And there's a famous example from Quine. It's called the Gavagai problem. And so when I'm in nature and I observe a native tribe and I want to learn their language, and I see whenever they see, or whenever there is a rabbit, they say something like Gavagai, do I have enough information to conclude that the reference of their utterance, so the object that is meant, is really a rabbit? And Quine said already in the 50s and 60s, no, it's impossible to really know what they mean. Like there's an impossibility of translation. So when I, for example, point with a finger and I just extend a imaginary line from my finger to the rabbit, I still, for example, don't know, do I mean the whole of the rabbit? Do I mean a part of the rabbit? Do I mean a particular instance in time of the rabbit? Do I mean the space that is surrounding the rabbit? So there's so much that I have to consider. There are so many possibilities of interpretation that Quine denies that we can translate. And I think this is a particular problem of reference, namely when we point at something. Many people think, well, objects in the world, they are very easily identified by just pointing at them. But that's not the case. And I believe that's also why, for example, Tesla's automatic driving does not work. So Elon Musk says, no, we just have cameras because humans can also do that. But does the AI have a true mechanism of inferentially analyzing the surrounding? And that's what I'm researching right now. So it's a question of reference versus inference. What does inference mean? Inference means basically that concepts are not explained through reference, but through and I'm sorry, I forgot here to show you actually my presentation. That's a real problem. So, now I'm angry because I explained the Gavagai problem before. Here you have the rabbit, right? And here you have the problem of pointing and reference. So if here the thinker who thinks and people who are pointing, what is it? So, and yeah, I spare you the logical details of what you do in logical inferentialism, because obviously I'm more interested in material inferentialism. And the idea is when you have an ideal parrot and you see something and you say it's red, for a parrot, it may just be a stimulus response. For humans, it may be a conceptual response, which means red is also a color. Red is also an accident of a certain object. Red is not yellow. Red is not square. These are different forms of negation. And the question is whether an AI is already relating to these inferential processes that we do. And all of that is necessary to have something that we can call a reference, but we don't just point out an object. We somehow reconstruct it in our mind. And then we try to tell others, and that's my point, we try to tell others what is the particular reconstruction of this object so that they can also reconstruct it with a similar method of inferences. And I realize my computer is again very, very slow. So I probably cannot show you the next videos. because I have prepared some videos. One of the question is, why am I so tired? And it is because I watched the World Championship in chess. I'm a big chess fan. I played myself. I once achieved an expert status in America, which is still pretty low compared to grandmasters. I wouldn't have any chance winning against a grandmaster. But yeah, I watched many hours, and they had like the longest game in chess history, and I watched it. And I watched it here in China, so I stayed up for a very long time. And the last game, I watched game 9. Yesterday was game 10. It was very interesting because Jan Nepomniachtchi, he made a beginner's mistake. And it was so interesting that, or maybe not a beginner's mistake. I may also be prone to such a mistake. No, I don't think I would have made this mistake. And so what remarkable times are we living in? Because when I was a child, I was waiting for content where grandmasters were commenting on games. And I could just watch Vlastimir Hort and Helmut Pfleger on German TV, and that was one of the highlights of the month. But now you can watch the World Championship games, and you can see grandmasters like Carlsen, who was also a competitor for the World Championship against Carlsen before, and Svidler, who's one of the grandmasters, also who was playing in Germany. Germany is one of the strongest chess leagues. And they are commenting on the games. And just to show you what kind of a mistake Nepomniachtchi did, because they all saw that immediately. So let's just listen into this, how they reacted. You see here the position, and they analyze it, but now they realize Nepomniachtchi placed the pawn to c5, and it will be very easy to trap the bishop of Nepomniachtchi. And you see the reactions here of the grandmasters.
But okay,
He played c5 straight away. But what is he planning? What is he planning against c6? Hang on.
Ooh.
This may have been a mistake, yeah?
It's not just mistake.
So you see here Karayakin directly responding, and now he says it's not just a mistake, it's a blunder.
Yeah, I don't see how to even continue now.
Yeah, so this is very interesting. I have another video. Let me close this so in the hope of improving the performance. Here we have, I like this, Judit Polgar. She was one of the strongest grandmasters ever, shown that also women can play in the top 10. She was the only woman who made it so far to the top 10. And Giri, I don't know him. I saw him a lot. He is also Super GM playing in the top 10, but I don't really know him. But they comment on this.
What? What?
Played c5.
Oh my god, come
Did he
on. But come on.
blunder?
I mean, no, but sorry, but c5, c6, I mean, I'm sorry, but I saw that instantly. Is he nuts? No, but I mean, that is insane.
Oh.
I mean, the moment because I was looking at position somewhere else, the moment you told me c5,
So it's crazy, right? And also, I also watched a stream with Kramnik before. Unfortunately, Kramnik, who was a former world champion, didn't comment on that game anymore. But here we have another reaction.
By the way, we have the move c5 on the board, so not knight c5, but pawn to c5.
But it's losing.
Wait.
It's losing.
Oh my god, did he just blunder?
Yeah, he did. C6?
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. And he just might not see it as a possibility. We were talking about c5, white playing c6, and then mentioned c6 for black, and the bishop's trapped.
Yeah.
Oh my god, and Magnus is scowling because I think he sees it.
Yeah.
Oh
my gosh.
Yeah, here we have Caruana, who was the last competitor for the World Championship. I don't know the other ones. They are also famous grandmasters, but I don't know their names. I'm not so much into the chess world right now. And you see the reactions. So this was the worst move that was ever played in a World Championship.
Yeah, that's. I would say it's shocking, but I kind of suggested the move. So
Well, you suggested
I can't be critical.
You suggested it several moves ago, and it's not your game, and you also didn't have 54 minutes on the clock when it was your move to think about it. I'm blown away by this blunder.
Yeah, Magnus.
And you look at Magnus Carlsen, and I have to say Magnus Carlsen now became really my favorite grandmaster because he's not arrogant at all. He's a grandmaster for more than 10 years. He's like one of the best players in the world. He's the top of the world, number one, for even a longer time, I believe. Like, he has one of the highest ratings that was ever achieved. He played some of the best tournaments, right? And he's still modest about his achievements. He's fair to his opponents. He's not arrogant in any way. He makes great content on YouTube. He comments on games. He's modest about what he can do. So I really like him as a grandmaster. I have pure admiration for him. And I think also when you watch these videos and you watch how he reacts and how he even spends time on a bad move from Nepomniachtchi and how he still takes him seriously, it's just great. So I just became a huge fan of him. Okay, however, let's go on. So I have such sleep problems, right? And I decided to take more melatonin. I should just take that. And that is so unfair in our society, you know? Like when you are an evening person and not a morning person, it's very hard to succeed. Because like all these top managers who always say, I get up at 5 and then at 8 I have already done so much work and I was already run. I cannot do that. I just can't. And people always told me in my life, yeah, but you have to do a good sleep hygiene. You have to do this. Yeah, it's cognitively clear, right, what I have to do, but I can't. I always switch back to the mode where I go to bed at 4 at night. Sleeping before 12 is really, really difficult for me. And I feel it's unfair because when you tell people that you couldn't sleep, like especially people who go to bed early, they're like they treat you as if you are a morally worse person who doesn't have any self-control. And sometimes it happens that I have to get up at 7 because I have 2 classes at 8 in the morning. When you're the new teacher, when you're at a new department, you always get like the worst times, right? You get like Monday, Tuesday at 8 in the morning. So, and then you have, I mean, I'm lucky, I'm close to my work. I have to get up at 7 and then I leave here at 7:30 and I'm there at like 7:50 and I prepare my classes. I'm reliable on that. But sometimes the night before, I'm afraid to miss my clock, to miss my alarm. And so I have 3 alarms to get me out of bed, but then I already sleep in a very stressed way and I always feel like, shit, is it already time? And then sometimes I just sleep 2 hours in that 2 days in a row. And I try to take afternoon naps and such stuff, but it's just something, and it crushes my day. Like yesterday was Wednesday, right? I was sleeping the whole day and my energy level was so low. I couldn't do any sports, like even food. Then I start eating sugar, right? Then my next addiction kicks in. By the way, I didn't eat sugar yesterday. I quit sugar for this week. I didn't eat any sugar since Friday, I believe. So, and I don't want to eat much sugar in my life anymore. But let's see, I had that a long time, this kind of endeavor. And I just looked for myself. I noticed I'm usually a very happy person, but when I don't sleep, my happiness goes down. And like the feeling that I had yesterday at the couch, I had that during all my childhood, when I had to get up for school at 6:30. Like even when I was a little child, I was always so crushed and I came just at home and I was a couch potato. I was a couch potato. Something that I don't have when I get up at 12. When I get up at 12, I'm active the whole day, right? But getting up at 12, somebody once told me, so you already missed half of a working day. Yeah, what the fuck? No, it's not my working day, right? So I'm sorry, I don't want to say these swear words. I shouldn't say them. Not because social pressure, but I don't want to say it myself, however. So I think most important in life is sleep comes first. Good sleep makes me happy. Then nutrition, good nutrition, cutting out the sugar, then sports, then social circles after the material needs are fulfilled. So that's just what I thought about. Then being productive, and best is if you're productive in your social circles, if you build a house together, if you have a project, not just meeting for drinking alcohol. I find that stupid, right? Then money, then art, and only in the end relationships. And I must say, emotionally, yeah, it's good when you dream of the idea of having a soulmate that you can talk about everything. But as Michael, my friend, says, the social costs, the maintenance costs are so high. And I agree with that, right? My desire may be higher for that. But if I rationally analyze it, the importance for my life should be ranked lower because other things make me happier. Okay, and last thing, on my Instagram, I didn't work the last weeks because I was working on my presentation. You see here, nothing really grew. I gained 10 more followers on one channel, so that seems that I have good hashtags, but nothing happened there. And I try to get back into this topic soon. Okay, 25 minutes. I hope it was interesting. I'm sorry for the presentation not having the pictures immediately up. I should look more at this screen where my OBS is. I still have to solve the issue with the slow YouTube, like that it records like with the frame rates. I don't know. You know what I mean. I hope so. However, I don't want to focus on that. Thanks for watching. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. I will do more such updates. And yeah, please comment. Tell me what you think. I'm interested in your opinions. Is GPT-3 a company that I can invest in? Do you know anything about that? Because I would like to buy the company on the stock market. So maybe you let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I hope I see you next week. Bye-bye.